Tom is an American who lives in Japan. He is an artist, a hand-drawn artist. Tom was as well the president of the ASAI conference in Tokyo in 2025, a 3-day conference with a lot of activities. The conference as well was amazing. So we had 3 days with speakers, with a walk, with a lot of conversation, artists, a lot of activities. And in this episode of the Talk to Zone podcast, you're gonna be listening about everything he did to work with something that he really loves, hand-drawn illustration.
He's going to be doing a hands-on watercolor workshop.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So people can choose to do that, or it's 2 options. The only time during a conference where you have choice.
Mm-hmm.
So you can either go to the amazing Arturo Tedeschi, who's a computational designer, or you can choose to go to Maxim's presentation in a separate room. And do hands-on watercolor. So, you can learn a lot, like CG people can learn a lot about, colors. And he's going to be showing, it's really going to be, I'm calling these deep learning workshops. Because, it's not, I'm trying to avoid the person standing in front of a slideshow and just showing their work that you could just see their work, if you go to their website. So I'm really trying to get it to be much more instructive and back and forth, and you can ask questions. So so Maxim will be doing demonstrations of how he draws and does watercolor, and then people will have paints, watercolor paper, and they'll be able to do their own watercolors. Well, and that'll be good for hands-on watercolorists, and also for CG people who want to learn that side of it.
Wow, it's so crazy. I think this is a really topic because sometimes I feel like we CG artists we get stuck on a technical point.
Yeah.
On a technical things such as like modeling and all, like, okay, which light I'm using, it's a sphere, it's a disc, what the direction, everything.
Yeah.
But then I think this is really important, of course. Like, it's a base, right?
Yeah.
But then there's way more, like, apart from this, as you're saying.
Yeah.
Like when you're learning about color grading, light and shadow, how like things, and I think a way to be aware and to learn is with painting.
Yeah.
Right? What do you reckon?
Well, I was just thinking when you were saying that, it reminded me of when I was an architect and I used to use AutoCAD. When you use these software programs for years, it trains your mind to think in a certain way. And if you actually do watercolors or learn from the old masters, you can, or even current masters, you can sort of, think more about, let's say, like I was saying, composition or color and shadow. Miyakawa-san is very good about composition. So it's like trying to get at, I think, as illustrators, we're illustrating an idea. So it's like, and, if you understand architecture and you communicate well with the architect, you can get what the architect is trying to get at. What is their intention? Like Sana, like Sejima-san she's trying to do certain things in her architecture, maybe marry the landscape with, I'm thinking of River House in Connecticut. It's like, having the architecture and the landscape meet together or have a discussion visually. So if when she goes to a CG artist, the CG artist wants to present the image so it's illustrating her idea of her design. Yeah. It also kind of reminds me of Hasegawa-san, the Nihonga style artist. Her focus for our presentation is going to be how to get soul into your painting.
The soul on your painting.
Yeah, into your painting. Like, so it's not just like depicting what the architecture is
Yes.
going to look like. It's like how to make you feel an emotion. In the hand drawn section, we often talk about grabbing someone's heart. So it's like, because that's what it's very much about in the hand drawn section. It's like we're trying to get people to feel an emotional connection to what the building is going to be in reality.
Yes.
And get the building approved by the planning department or the local neighborhood association.
Yes. I think, to be honest, the way I see is like when we are visualizing.
And let me
So,
just say also, just for the people who are putting money down to get the project
exactly.
built. Yeah.
So when you visualizing a project, I think that the project itself, it's technical, of course, but there's an idea behind that. So the architect, and I'm not an architect,
Yeah.
but working like so many years in this field, I kind of like have the feeling of being on other side of the table, and I feel like when we artists, we respect the project. We can then bring our own ideas, but connect to the project, because I'd say, oh, there's a tower, and then this tower is like there's a twist, and the twist was made by the architect for a reason.
Yeah.
Maybe it's facing a certain spot that you can see the sea view.
Yeah.
So imagine, so you, Tom, and we are doing a podcast. Sorry, guys, like this is the way we start. This is Tom Gastel.
Gastel, yeah.
Gastel. We're here in Tokyo at Nikken office. Tom, thank you for having me here.
Yeah.
I really started the podcast in this way because
Okay.
it's really more natural.
Yeah.
So imagine you, Tom, designed this building, twisted one,
Yeah.
and then at some point in that specific floor, you see the sea because of the twist.
Yeah.
And I am the artist visualizing that.
Yeah.
And when I give you the image, you don't see that. So you see, like, it doesn't make sense me visualizing and making images of that project. And I'm not really showing what was the intention.
Yeah. I mean, I've even seen photographs where you can see that the photographer was smart because they are presenting the building in relation to another building. I'm thinking in Washington, D.C., there's like one of the Smithsonian's, and I never really thought of it, but the architect was designing it in relation to the Washington Monument. So the photographer, was trying to make that dichotomy between these two buildings. And also, a lot of times we might like, it's almost the same thing. It's like our proposed building might be in relation to some monument or some building, and you want to highlight that.
Yes.
Maybe the light is shining on this other building. It's like the Eiffel Tower or something, or like the Empire State Building in New York City. It's like there's some discussion happening between these two towers, and Miyakawa-san can speak better than I can about it, but you might like create maybe a dark clouds except for this light shining down onto the Empire State Building in the distance, so there's like this relationship, or maybe the lights at night are illuminating the Empire State Building in the distance. So
Yes.
there's that dialogue between the two buildings, the proposed building and the existing building.
So you see, I think that after so many years, I can see myself, you know, in a certain stage of my career where I was really worried about the technical things, like how can I model this? How can I simulate something? And then at some point, I move on to the more artistic side, and as we talking here, understanding color composition, you know, all these things about art. And then at some point, I see myself like in a position where I know the technical, I know like the softer knowledge. I'm studying and I know a little bit about the artistic side. And now I want to combine this to bring this to the project that I'm working on at the moment. So I really see that if I'm talking to you, so we always have a client, right? So if I'm talking to the client about, let's say, this twist tower we're talking, we are like talking here.
Yeah.
I have to talk to you. I have to understand, and not only like say, not only be like the artist, like, oh, I'm the artist, I'm gonna visualize this on black and white because I think it's pretty. Although I really think we, as an artist, we should express ourselves and, you know, bring bold ideas. But I don't know if you get the point. Like, I'm trying to say that, like, if I understand the project, I can combine my artistic view, my artistic side, to the real context and the real what that project is, you know, talking about, what like the context, which is important, right? Like, say we have a building here in Tokyo, so, and I'm doing external views, like the way the people dress, the people, like people dress, they're gonna be walking. If it's a business area, people in suit, and the car, and how like the even the lighting, you know, regarding the country. And I'm just like saying things here about this, but I want to hear from you. Like, it's do you reckon like about this artistic like, you have your artistic view and your own ideas, and when you work in a project, how you, Tom, like how you combine this, like respecting the project, but in the meantime respecting yourself on your own artistic.
Yeah, I mean, I in response to that, I would say, like, every location has its particularities, you know? So, you know, for me, something that I've always been interested in is how to localize the architecture. And I'm thinking more as an architect than an architectural visualizer, but the same is true with architectural visualizations. But something that interests me in architectural design is how to make it everything local. So, you know, that's why I love Tadao Ando's work, because I feel like he takes the, you know, modern aesthetic and localizes it to Japan, both in the as a the particular to like the local climate, and also to me, I mean, I've never read this, I don't know if this is his intention or not, but when I look at his, even though it's like modern concrete or glass, you know, large windows, I think of them as traditional, you know, modern versions of the shoji screen, the traditional Japanese shoji screen. So I don't know if that was his intention, but Barragan is another example in Mexico, obviously. So I mean, that's of particular interest to me, because if every architecture looks, we're kind of getting off topic a little bit, but like if every architecture all over the world is the same, it really makes for a bland architectural environment. But if it's particular to the locality, and you're always reflecting the local culture and reflecting the local climate, then it's always going to be different. And the architectural visualization could be true, should be true also, in terms of the way people dress in your visualization, maybe. I mean, I think like no other place that I've ever lived, and I grew up in a very rainy location, upstate New York. But I think Tokyo has rain looks the best in Tokyo than any other place I've ever lived. And I'm not exactly sure. It's partly because of all the lights at night and the glossy streets and the reflections. So, you know, if I was to do a night scene in Tokyo, in certain parts of Tokyo, I would probably incorporate that. And that's not true necessarily in San Francisco, which is more foggy, you know, like you'd probably want to, for me, I would probably include maybe some fog into the imagery if I was doing it in San Francisco. But that fog is not really a thing I've never seen it once in the 9.5 years that I've been in Tokyo. Whereas like Tokyo has its particularities, and the way people dress is particular. I mean, when I think about when I worked with Frank Casatino back in Boston, like we were working on a project, illustrations for Adelphi University on Long Island, and like, you know, Frank would draw people that were students, and students dressed differently than other people, you know, the backpacks and sort of the how well kept, you know, it might be students might be a little bit more like their shirt might not be tucked in, which is more typical in America. But in Japan, because it's the humidity, and it took me a long time to figure this out, and even what I'm wearing now, it's like people tend to have like baggier clothes, you know, because of the humidity, which I'm sure you don't have in London where you live now, but in Brazil you probably have that humidity. So maybe people are dressed, you know, so you might want to capture that. Or in Japan, you know, there's definitely people who dress, you know, very traditionally in a kimono, or the male version of that. So, you know, depending on what you're depicting, you might want to incorporate that. Like, you know, obviously if it's, you know, there's a temple on site. I do a lot of aerial illustrations. So we've had requests where there's, you know, they want me to depict a temple, and the people, you know, often in Japan, you might want to go in your traditional Japanese clothes to the temple. So I would, when I do drawings of a Japanese temple in my aerial drawings, often I will have them wearing traditional Japanese clothes. Also, maybe this is true in China also, but I would say Japanese culture loves fireworks. I mean, I think it's true in America, but maybe even more so in Japan. So, you know, you might have fireworks in your night scene in the background, you know, or, you know, maybe Miyakawa-san, have you ever had, I don't know, Harobi? No. How do you say fireworks? I forget now in Japanese, but you might incorporate fireworks into your hanabi. Yeah, hanabi. Yeah, hanabi. Yeah. So yeah.
But you see, I think this is so important. Like you have all these elements from Japan because you live here now, of course. When you representing, visualizing the project here, it's so authentic, right?
Yeah.
Regarding these things, of course, we can like I work in project like all over the world, and now I can be traveling to that spot at the time. But sometimes like I just go to YouTube or Google Street View, like to kind of like, you know, walk around. And but actually, I just you were talking about when the US. I just want to go back there and ask you about you moving to Japan.
Yeah, but before that, can
Go
I
ahead.
just say, because it popped in my head.
Yeah.
So when I was working for Frank Costantino, we were working on illustrations for an aquarium design in Long Beach. And, you know, we were in Boston. Boston has, of course, there's exceptions, but there's people look a certain way. And people in Long Beach, LA, Los Angeles, look a different way. And they actually asked us to change the look of the people so it would look more natural for Long Beach. So, but in terms of your question about me coming to Japan, so I was beginning to tell you the story, but we didn't finish it. So it's kind of a funny story. So, like I said, I worked for Frank Costantino in Boston, who's a traditional watercolorist, watercolor architectural illustrator, and in my opinion, one of the top architectural illustrators in watercolor illustrators in America. So I worked for him, then I went off working on my own, and then when I worked on my own, I became a member of ASAI. And because of that, I got this email about this job opportunity at Nikken Seke in Tokyo. So immediately I applied. And the next day I got a response in my email from my current boss, Masaki Yamada, or as we say in Japan, Yamada-san. So that was interesting. And he saw my portfolio online. And that was, I remember, it was December 5th that I sent him my resume and the link to my portfolio.
You remember the date?
Yeah, I do. And I was actually taking Spanish classes at Harvard at that point. And I was really intense into learning Spanish.
Muy bien.
And there was like, I took beginner and then intermediate. And the only option after that was this Spanish class that was way higher. It was the only other option that they were offering. And it really wasn't even a Spanish language class. It was Latin films, but the class was all spoken in Spanish. It was a way to practice. So I go to my first class and I was like, well, let me back up. So around New Year's, I thought, you know what? I'm going to send a Happy New Year card to Yamada-san and the staff in the illustration studio because I think Japanese people are really into New Year's and to cards. And I didn't tell you this, but when I lived in San Francisco, I worked on traditional Japanese architectural projects for a firm there. So we had a traditional tea house this was a huge it was $100 million project. It was huge. It took 10 years to design, and it was built in Silicon Valley. So on the site, another firm designed a traditional Japanese tea house, even with a thatched roof. I mean, it was very traditional. And I had done a drawing of that tea house in pencil. And so I decided to use that in my Happy New Year card. And I asked my good friend to help me translate the text. And I hand wrote it in Japanese kanji and hiragana and maybe katakana, and sent it to Yamada-san. And then then I went to my first day of Spanish class at Harvard, and I just thought, oh my God, everyone else, they're literally like teachers of Spanish in high school. Like it was way at a higher level. So I was really distraught because I had waited months for this class to begin. And then I come home and I'm totally distraught, and I open up my email and there was a job offer from Yamada-san, and I was super excited. So I dropped my Spanish class immediately and I started learning Japanese.
Wow.
And a couple months later, I was living in Tokyo.
But like when you like even before that, I would like to ask you about the hand drawing and things. Like, how did you get into this?
Well, that's also kind of an interesting story. So, you know, I mean, I drew in high school and younger years, but I really did not come from a family of artists. Like, not at all. Like, I'm definitely unusual, and even all my aunts and uncles and cousins and all that. So, although I do feel that my mother was inherently a good, probably would have been good if she pursued it, but she didn't. But I didn't come from a family of artists. So, you know, but I definitely was interested in it. And I would say 11th grade in high school, I was sort of becoming my own person. And I mean, it's crazy, but I used to break into the art department after school. I'm going to cry. But,
so did you?
Yeah.
No,
So
don't worry.
I wanted to create.
Yes. And I think this show like how is that how that is deep, you know, on you this artistic, your artistic side.
Yeah. So I'm so embarrassed.
No, that's fine. Don't worry. I think this is the it is like we human. That's that's normal.
So
I'm
so I
assuming-
went. So let me just continue. So I decided to go to a summer program at Cornell University in the architecture department, which was, I don't know, maybe a month long or 6 weeks. I don't remember. And I was really jazzed about architecture at that point. So I asked, I had no idea where to apply, but I knew that I wanted design. That was like my passion. So they said, well, go to RISD, Rhode Island School of Design. That's like one of the best architecture schools in America. So I applied and I got in, and I could see that a lot of interesting things were happening in San Francisco because of magazines. So I moved to San Francisco and I worked as an architect there for 12 years. And I was working for a firm there, and I was working on the interiors of a very high-end clothing store, and we had a watercolor architecture illustrator work on the project, like do illustrations for us. And at that point, I was really passionate about my sketchbook, keeping a sketchbook. So I showed him my sketchbook, and he's like, oh, you should join our once a month watercolor group. It's all architects. I think there is one landscape architect. So I just really got into it. So
do you think somehow like you with your sketchbook and drawing was something that you couldn't see, that like you kind of like not hiding from people, but like this is really your thing, and then at some point you see like there's some value on that. So for example, in this project you have the contact with this fashion project, so you see like, oh, actually that's something that I could do like for a living, or I could get more in.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of overwhelmed me, and I don't even know if I had ever done watercolor at that point. I mean, maybe even I never did. In fact, when I started, I was using gouache because I didn't know the difference, and but I didn't want to be embarrassed because we would meet once a month. So even though we would only meet once a month, every weekend I was painting all the time.
And how was that? How was
and
the
I just got
experience?
better. Yeah, I got better and better, and it was really I just didn't want to be embarrassed. You know, I just and I met all these great people through that. That was before meetup.com or Urban Sketchers Group, but it was very similar to Urban Sketchers Group and these meetups.
And then you continue in this company?
Yeah,
or
and then I was like, you know what? I want to be an architectural illustrator. It's much more interesting to me. I love, at that point, it was really just watercolor. I mean, I just love seeing watercolor come together, the pigments, and it was like magic. And also, a shout out to my old roommate, George Hull, who's amazing illustrator. He's really a conceptual illustrator for movies, including Dune and Star Wars and
he's your mate.
Yeah, he was my roommate, and I would, he's really one of the hardest workers I've ever met. So, I would see him drawing, and I would think, I want to be creative like that. I mean,
yes.
So I was like, then I moved to Boston, and people told me about Frank Casatino, who lives in Boston, really in Winthrop, which is just north of Boston. And
So we just have had a break for our coffee delivered by robot, but Miyakawa help us with the coffee. Arigatou gozaimasu. So you talk about your house mate. So you saw him drawing, then that shows you like you that shows you that you want to express yourself. You want to get yourself into drawing something.
Yeah, I feel like it's more creative. Yeah. Anyway, so I just got really passionate about drawing. I was obsessed with drawing. I just would I mean, I was drawing all the time. Yeah.
And then at some point you actually start implementing these at work for project.
Yeah, I mean, so when I worked for Frank, we did architectural illustrations of large projects, of course, because they have to have a large budget. But for big firms like Clark Pelly, at that point, I think it was just Pelly, and HOK, and a lot of big firms. I remember working on a project for Moshe Safdie and Moshe Safdie Architects, the Skirball Institute. And then when I went off on my own, I did a lot of work for universities and private schools, for whatever reason. For Harvard and Yale and Princeton and Duke and University of Virginia, Del Barton School for Boys, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, yeah. So, and then I got this job offer, so then I came to Tokyo. Yeah, which has been great. It's a little different than what I was doing before. Yeah.
So just before Tokyo, I just want to actually clarify, even for me, when you're saying visualize, are we actually talking about CGI or literally hand drawing kind of thing? Like we're not talking about ArcVis,
Correct.
right?
Hmm.
So did you at some point get in touch with ArcVis, or on visualizing on the software itself, or not, or is like this a different thing?
Well, I mean, I didn't really use it. I mean, I tried 3D Studio Max and SketchUp, but yeah, I mean, it's exclusively hand drawn, which can include the Wacom tablet, in Photoshop, but
yes.
hand drawn, yeah.
I think this is so interesting because, like people who are listening to this, they're mostly working on ArcVis,
Yeah.
and having someone, visualizing project, but in such a different way. It's like I want to hear what you have to say. So, because I think as an artist, we all get inspired and we get ideas from different areas. But then in this case, we are actually in the same area. We talk about architecture, but you visualize in a different way.
Yeah,
Right?
I want to say a couple things about that. The Nikken Seke, where I work, Nikken Seke hand-drawn presentation group has maybe 12 permanent, full-time employees, and maybe it changes, but maybe 5 or 6 freelance college students who work approximately 22 hours a week, because I think that's what the law allows. So it's pretty substantial. The only other firm that I know of that has anything like this is Foster and Partners in London. They have in-house hand illustrators. Of course, they have CG artists too. But and Nikken would not be employing these people if they didn't feel that it's profitable for them. It
Exactly.
brings in projects. And also, like I was saying before, hand drawing, I think inherently tugs on people's emotions more so than CG artists. There's exceptions for sure, but it's easier. There's something about the hand-drawn line, the hand-drawn, and you can't recreate that with just like a tool that makes it squiggly, the line squiggly. I personally, I feel like it always shows that it's not real hand-drawn. So that's, obviously Nikken Seke feels that it's worth it to have hand-drawn images. And in some ways, sometimes it can actually be faster because we don't have to be so precise. When you're a CG artist, you have to plug in precise dimensions, but we don't have that difficulty,
Kind of
So,
freedom.
yeah, it frees things up. And we can do a sketch like amazingly quick. We also work really hard. So there's that. But some things are quicker hand drawn. And then there's benefits of CG. You can quickly change colors, that we can't do so much, but we can do it. We can patch things in, or, do a screen grab, grab a certain area and then change the color, or keep things on different layers. So it's very easy to adjust things in Photoshop. But there's certain benefits. And also, like, we do a lot of competitions. We do. And often our competitions, we have a book, like literally like this thick, and it has a lot of text, but we also have obviously we have architectural illustrations. And if you need, let's say, 20 illustrations in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, maybe, it takes a lot of CG artists working on it, and it takes a lot of hand-drawn illustrators working on it. And also visually, it's nice in this book that we present to have that variety. And, some people looking at the book, let's say the decision makers, some people are more interested in the CG because they feel like it's real and it's like it gives this feeling like it's done. But then some people like the hand drawn, and sometimes, you know, you see a CG artwork and visualization, and you feel like, oh, it's already done. But when you look inherently at a hand drawn image, you think there's more leeway in the design process. So I think that's definitely like a benefit that the hand drawn section has.
Yes.
You know, clients can say, oh, we can make changes. They might see a CG drawing and they might think, oh, the design is kind of done. It's like we can't change things.
You know,
yeah.
Sorry.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, just like there's people react differently to a CG drawing. I mean, we use in the hand-drawn section, we use the Pablo Picasso quote that translates more or less into English as, I'm going to not say this completely correct, but it's something like, we tell lies in order to tell the truth. And I think that's very true. Like, we can exaggerate things. Let's say in an aerial, we draw people way out of scale, like huge, you know? But it doesn't matter. We're lying about the scale, but we want the viewer to, you know, within 10 seconds, looking at to kind of understand what the intention of this of the story is, what the idea that we're illustrating. And I don't know if CG artists do that so much, but we can also like right now I'm working on a project in Yokohama. Like I'm exaggerating the size of the plot of land, you know, which is kind of a lie, but where the emphasis of the illustration is this particular plot of land. So we want to put a lot of activity and a lot of the proposed, you know, of little buildings like the public bathrooms, etc., into it. So I exaggerate that. So that's kind of a lie, but it's a way to tell the truth of the intention of the illustration. So we're, you know, we do that for the benefit of the getting the idea across.
I think we somehow we do the same on
Okay.
with CGI, but of course it really depends of the artist who's working on that, and you know the people and the needs for the project, of course.
Yeah.
But it's way easier to get in the, you know, stuck on the technicality and everything. So, but sometimes you have to fake something to make that feel real. And but of course, there's not that much freedom as in a hand draw, of course. And one thing that I heard once, and I thought was so interesting, that when you see a sketch project, conceptual one, if someone show to you a sketch, your brain is gonna finish that. You're gonna interpret that, and somehow you see some lines kind of like not actually connected, but your brain is gonna connect that and finish. And when you see a photo or realistic CGI render, there is no space. So as you're saying, it looks like it's so realistic. It looks like it's built.
Yeah.
Of course, there's purpose for everything, but I remember this when you talk about the conceptual sketches, hand draw for project, because you're showing something that is not finished, but we have this somehow we receive very well hand draw and a more conceptual representation, because maybe for each person will appear differently, like the interpretation of that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, everyone has a different hand, you know, so yeah. I think of one of ASAI's members, Dennis Elaine, who creates images that are CG, but there's a looseness to them that is he crosses boundaries. Like even though it's CG, it's has a looseness that it's very like energetic. His images are, I'm thinking of his architectural illustrations that he did for the proposal for when Boston was trying to become an Olympic site. So he did these very, you know, they're both like definitive because they're CG, but there's a looseness to this line work that makes you feel like anything is possible. Like this is just a proposal, but it's not definite. It's still in the process. Yeah, he's a winner of our annual award this year, like he often is. So his work will be on display at our exhibition on the evening of October 1st, which is happening at the Italian Cultural Institute here in Tokyo in the Hanzoman neighborhood. Yeah.
Which is we're talking about the ASAI conference.
Yeah.
It's happening in Tokyo this year.
Yeah.
3 days conference.
Yep. October 1st through 3rd. Yep.
So it's well, next week. So we're gonna be there attending, and we me and Tom, we decided to have this chat before, and it's even really nice to me to be here at Nikken, you know, and get to know. I'm really curious about the hand draw. Like I want to see stuff like, after this. Yeah. But then you moved to Tokyo.
Yeah.
And I really, I suppose, like for you, not only because you're American, but from that part of the world, and I'm from America, no, South America.
Yeah.
It's so different. Wow, how was for you? Like,
yeah, I mean, I've been here for 9.5 years, so certain things are not so shocking to me. Shocking in a good way. I love to see the differences between cultures. So when I first came here, it was like looking. It's like, I'm sure it's kind of the same. I don't know when you probably came here just a couple days ago. Yeah. So like, yeah. So I'm sure it's the same for you. But like when I first came here, it was just like, wow. I was like, I never thought of doing it that way. Sometimes I feel like our two cultures couldn't be more different. There's definitely similarities.
Yeah.
I mean, we're both capitalist democracies, but there's just different ways of doing things, and what you think of as, oh, this is the right way to do it. It's like, oh, that's just one way to do it. Yes. There's other ways. It's like how you, like in Japan, often you put you plug in an outlet and then twist. It's like, oh, I never thought of that, but yeah, okay. Or like in America, you know, it's not unusual to have decaf coffee. And I mean, literally only this week have I ever heard of anyone getting a decaf coffee. That was the very first time. Like, it's just like, oh, I guess.
Ordinary things.
Yeah, ordinary things.
It's really surprised, like the way, the street, the 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Like like from, of course, you live in here for such a while. Things get normal, of course.
Yeah.
But it's so impressive.
Yeah.
I even see like on the street, like people the way people dress.
Yeah.
It's kind of formal. I don't know, like because again, as you're saying, né?
Yeah.
When you first get here and everything's so new.
Yeah.
So I'm really watching. So I was on the way here. I was on a train, watching people, and you see a certain color palette, like black and white.
Yeah. Look, yeah, a lot of black, yeah, a lot, wearing black,
yeah, it's
black and white,
yeah.
Well, it's also when I lived in San Francisco and when I lived in Boston, it was the same way. There's like a very particular way of dressing in those two different cities for different reasons. part of it in San Francisco is the fog. You know, like the fog can blow in and it can go from very hot to very cold and blowing in the summertime during certain months. So, and also people are very, in general, very athletic, and it's not about showing fancy clothes so much. It's your workout gear or your Patagonia fleece jacket is like sort of your, a symbol of that it's almost like a branding for you, like you just came from the gym or something. You just went rock climbing or something. But in Boston, it's much more traditional. The preppy style is still there. I lived in Beacon Hill. It's like the epicenter of preppy. So, it's a reflection of a different culture, a different mindset. It's a more traditional there. But Tokyo is definitely a center of design in a different way than we have in the West. Also, I mean, you live in London, which has has the royalty just like Tokyo or Japan in general has, which America does not. So like personally, a personal interest to me is like how cities get developed, how they are created. And, I don't know England well enough. I've only been there once. But, often in Japan, the castle's in the middle of the city. There was land for some people to live and probably farming, and then there's big walls to protect the royal family or the family who lived there. And then there's often a moat, and the moat had to be a certain distance in order for at that time, like bows and arrows couldn't go more. And then, the townspeople would live outside of that. And that's just a very different way. I think most of Europe kind of has a similar story, but in America, we don't have that. And yes. I'm sure in Brazil, it's the same, in all of the Americas. So like in America, Boston was developed. We're getting off the topic of architectural visualization, but like, you can cut this out. But like, I find it fascinating because it's all about like the harbor and being, and the river, the river, they would bring farming and other things down the river. And, Boston is relatively close to London, but then, once the Erie Canal and the Barge Canal developed and all that, and then New York City became more dominant over Boston, and the Hudson River and the East River are deeper, especially the Hudson River, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, it's just fascinating to see. In San Francisco, and is a different instance, but I find it so fascinating how different cities develop in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Totally different.
I see like somehow when I moved to UK, I was at work-wise.
Yeah.
I started seeing the difference.
Yeah.
In this corporate this work world where I'm working with people and they're different, and I see like in UK they're very polite, they're very professional, of course. But then for you, like, how was this for you, like in Japan, like the Japanese people at work, how are they different from the Americans? Or
yeah, well, I think about this a lot. It's interesting because I grew up in the Northeast in America, and it's a little more traditional. Not hugely, but like a little, for American standards and Canadian standards, it's a little more traditional. And then, I lived in San Francisco, which is, it's not people don't revere history as much and tradition. And I mean, that's both good and bad. I think it opens up anything is possible, and I can see why Silicon Valley is there in California, because there's this overwhelming, it's really great. There's creative energy in San Francisco. It's like going to art school, except it's an entire city. And you can see why so much creativity comes out of that, because people have such an open mind to anything, that anything is possible. It's amazing. But Americans, it's either, I don't know if it's good or bad, but like, the pressure to be efficient is pretty intense, I think, especially in the big cities. So some of those formalities, I think it's a little sad, but some of those formalities have gone by the wayside because of the need for efficiency, or the desire for efficiency. Whereas Japan is a more traditional society, so there's a lot more of formality, especially in like, talking to people, but also in emails. So the way in America, we might have cut out a lot of those formalities, and it's more straight to the point. Yeah. So.
But then when you email someone, like you grade that person, or you actually respect all these structures. If I heard once, like, if I'm speaking to someone that is older than me, there is a certain way.
Yeah. And I'm not an expert in it, but yeah, even you use certain words for an older person opposed to talking to a younger person. Yeah. There's much more of a sense of respect towards older people. And to go back about Silicon Valley and San Francisco, I feel like it's about the best idea wins. So that's the flip side of it. It's like, it's nice to have the respect, but then in San Francisco, Silicon Valley in particular, there's the idea of the best idea wins. But I mean, business is business. So it's definitely true, like the best idea wins here, but there's a way of showing your respect also.
There's layers of things before.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not well versed in it. I try to be, but it's hard for me to understand. And there's a lot of subtleties in Japanese culture, how people interact. And it's hard to sort of understand, but like, Miyakawa-san, isn't it true, like, Japanese people might not want to say no, but they'll say muzakashi, it's difficult, which is basically saying, no. It's muzakashi. It's difficult.
Instead of just saying no.
It's basically, or like sometimes, to be honest, like sometimes I might show a drawing to my boss and he doesn't want to say no. So he'll call over someone else to get their opinion. And at that point, I know he's just trying to be nice to me, and it's just, he doesn't want to say no. Yeah. So, it's Japanese culture is different that way, though. The way of showing respect. It's, I think in Spanish too, there's a layer of respect, which is also based on royalty, the way the royalties you would talk to royalty, and then it just kind of became part of their verbal culture and written culture. I think it's nice.
Did you have any particular experience that happened to you here, like funny thing like that, because of this cultural difference, like even at work or?
Well, I have to say, I'm sure I say things that I'm not aware that it comes across as being too it probably sounds too harsh in a way, like.
And you speak, even in Japanese, you speak a bit of Japanese.
Yeah. So like I might say shiranai, I don't know, but I think that I shouldn't use that word. I should be, instead of saying shiranai, it sounds like it's like a very harsh thing where I should say muzikashi. I don't know. It's difficult. Instead of I don't know, shiranai.
Yeah.
I should use muzikashi desu. It's difficult. I'm sure there's a lot of things that I'm just not, I don't understand the subtleties.
Yeah, even living,
But let me just say, like we call it the gaijin card. Gaijin, it means foreigner.
Yes.
So I think Japanese people will overwhelmingly understand that we don't understand these subtleties. We don't understand, so there's a leeway in that. They give us a lot of leeway. But yeah.
But in the meantime, I don't know, like if you think in the same way, but like I'm here now, so it's not if you try, and it's not that difficult to learn. Ohayo, arigatou gozaimasu, like little things.
Yeah.
That in the first contact, I'm gonna speak in Japanese.
Yeah.
And it's a way to respect.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I think it's really important to, and actually, even seeing, for example, on a train, I see it so silent.
Yeah.
So quiet.
Yeah.
So I would never like send a voice note or send a voice note.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's really common from me.
Yeah.
Because I'm aware that I'm in a different context.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way to respect that.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, even you living here for 8 years, 9 years now,
9.5 years, yeah.
there's always like things that you can get right. Like it's if you're having a lunch with the people, and then they might be talk about advertise from the TV from the 80s or something, that like there's a joke on that, and you never get this little things. Or right?
Well, that's another thing. I mean, comedy, laughter, it's very cultural. And some things that we in America we think is funny, it's just not funny to Japanese people. They don't understand it. But the same is true with British humor too. It's different. I mean, I grew up watching Benny Hill, which as a 12-year-old, I just thought it was so funny. But like some things don't quite
sarcastic.
Yeah,
right?
There's some things that don't, even like it's regional. Even in America, it's very regional. Like certain things, it's a huge country. There's certain. It's almost like multiple cultures.
Yes.
Maybe Brazil is the same, and probably Great Britain is the same. I'm sure it is. So yeah, humor is particular to a different culture.
Can I ask you something? It's quite. I see that it looks like people hang out a lot after work. You see, I see, like I was walking yesterday. That was 7 p.m. ish, and I saw these people, like looks they're coming straight from the office. They're going to a bar or a ramen place or something. Is this a thing, like going to place after work and drink a lot, or not?
Well, Miyakawa-san is shaking his head yes. So.
We have Miyakawa.
At Nikken, I think we hang out in the office, but yeah, people, it's that's part of Japanese culture. I would say more than. Let's see, is it more than America? I would say maybe more. I mean, I think more Americans tend to be, maybe Brazilians are the same. You're more apt to know more about your workmates.
Absolutely.
About their personal lives. In Japan, I think that's not true. Yeah, so I mean, like in America, you're more apt to, let's say, bring your spouse to an event. In Japan, not so much. In fact, one of my best friends here, I've only met her husband once, and she said that was super unusual. Like in 9 years that I've known her, Yeah, I've never met her. I only met her husband once, and that was
Wow.
briefly. And she used to work with me. But yeah, socially, yeah, we definitely go as a unit. The hand drawn section, we do go out after work periodically as a group, and it's a way of bonding.
Yes, yes, indeed. I felt the same with English people. Like they're very
Probably.
professional,
Yeah.
right? And after 2 years, I realized that there was like siblings in the office. I was like, "Wait, are you two brothers?" They're like, "Yeah," but they I used to go out and play tennis with one of them,
Yeah.
and after work, and then even on the weekends, and he never brought the fact that he had a brother working in the same office. And the Brazilians, well, if you work with a Brazilian in 1 week,
Yeah.
you're gonna know like if there is a married or not, if it's
Yeah.
a dog,
Yeah.
what his dream for.
What you did on the weekend,
Yes,
like it's
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And sometimes this is not a good thing, because we mix a lot, all these two, the professional and the personal.
Yeah.
And maybe I see like maybe on the Japanese context is more efficient in this way, like where you professional, so you really talking about work.
Yeah.
I think we waste a lot of time talk about random things at
Yeah.
work, personal things.
Yeah. I'm sort of curious. In England, is when you go out with your workmates, is it planned? Here, now I'm interviewing you, but like, is it planned or is it just like, oh, does anyone want to go out for drinks after work?
It happens sometimes, but I would say that in my case, we used to plan.
Okay.
Oh, we're gonna go. We're gonna hang out
Yeah.
Friday, or there's something happen Friday. Not so spontaneous.
Oh, there's another thing about Japanese culture which is very nice, is I feel like, well, there's much of a communal attitude, like everyone comes to decisions. So, we might, let's say if we decide to all go out as a department, like everyone decides together what restaurant we'll go to, or what we're going to do. Should we all go bowling, or should we go skating instead, or should we go to the pool hall? So we all will decide as a group. Of course, someone has to eventually make the decision,
Yes.
but everyone has their input on a lot of things. And like we have department meetings where we get to know things about the company, announcements that I never remember having that in America. Maybe I wasn't at a high enough level, but you feel like you're more aware. Of course, it's in Japanese, so I don't understand a lot. But it's nice that they're trying to get, even like at the very beginning where I knew no Japanese, it was nice that they wanted me to be in those meetings, even though they knew I couldn't understand anything at that point. Like they wanted me to be part of it, which was very generous. Yeah.
I see it sometimes, as you're saying, maybe in different countries we have always a personality where it's kind of bring, I want to go to that place, like let's go because I went there last weekend and it's nice. So I think it's interesting to see how it's more like for the group. So and this tells a lot about the Japanese culture. I see little things from me, like the way they when you go somewhere and they're saying arigato gozaimasu for everything, and like the gesture and everything. You're so respectful. I love this.
Yeah.
It's so you feel like you seen.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You can see the humanity in people. Yeah. It's nice.
And I suppose it's this happens at work, of course, as well. As you're saying, like your boss, like maybe not even saying no for what you're drawing, like oh maybe if you bring someone else to see, so you know already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a softer way of
Mm.
telling someone. Yeah.
I think it's such. I suppose for you must be such a incredible experience, and well, you living here now. I don't know if you how. I think for people who are listening and are kind of like planning to move, or at some point might get an offer to work somewhere else in a different country. So how was for you to adapt, especially not speaking the language that much, but
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I arrived only knowing maybe 60 to 80 words. So. That was crazy. I mean, I definitely benefited that I came to work for a company that that's large, that has, I mean, it's only maybe less than 5%. I don't know what the percentage is that are foreigners in the Tokyo office, in the headquarters where I work at. 5% maybe are foreign, and not all of them speak English, but many do. It just was like instant bonding because we're all in the same situation. So it made it a lot easier than if I was to work. Like I do know, like sometimes people, again, we're getting off topic of visualization, but like I find it interesting. Like, some people come to Japan and they come here to teach English, but they're put in a location like a small town in a rural, some far distant place from Tokyo or anywhere where there's many people speaking their language, whatever it is, if it's English. And it could, socially and emotionally, I didn't experience that, but I'm sure that must be difficult. Whereas I came to Tokyo, central Tokyo, that has a fair amount of English speakers, and I came to a large company where there's a fair amount of foreigners that are speaking English. So for me, it was easy. Plus, my boss is totally bilingual, English and Japanese, so that helped. He could help process paperwork for me. So for me, the transition was not that difficult. Also, I just think I was both like so excited to come to Japan and experience living in a foreign country, which is like a lifetime goal of mine. I had already worked at a firm that worked on traditional Japanese architecture, so I thought I knew Japanese culture to some degree, even though I really didn't. But to some degree, I did a little bit. But it just made I was, coming to a firm like this, and also just my personality. I think I'm kind of like, I just, as we say in America, like roll with it. Like it doesn't stress me out. It's like some people, it's hard for them, like they miss home or they don't like the frustrations of figuring out a different culture, of doing different ways of doing different things. But I'm kind of excited. Right. I'm kind of excited about that. I love to see the differences in cultures. So for me, I was very open-minded to the changes, to the differences. Yeah, it's not easy. I'm in the same situation. Yeah. The first week is crazy. Yeah. Like, what I'm doing here. Yeah. And then with the time, you're starting to actually understand a little bit more the context and everything. Yeah. And I think somehow, I don't know what you think about that, but you have to expose yourself. You have to be up to get to know the culture and the language and the people. Because if you work and then you go home and then you lock yourself at home and then
I'm just watching my stuff in my own tongue,
Yeah.
my native tongue, and like you can be in a different country and not actually getting anything if you close,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Definitely.
But then let me just I actually have a really honest question for you. I since I since I'm kid, I used to draw, at school,
Yeah.
like while in the teacher, like on the class, and then I'm kind of like drawing something, cars, architecture. So that's how I actually get in this field. And I was wondering, and I was watching content about the painting, right? I even watch a lot of James Gurney content. I don't know if you know him, James Gurney. It's an American, an artist.
I don't know.
He has a book called Color and Light.
Okay.
It's a really good one. So I recommend to people who works on the archivist field. Again, to get to understand this base of the painting, so color, light, cast shadow, and all these things. But I never try. I mean, I tried once, like painting, and it was terrible. How can I, like? There's a certain way or method to start painting. Should I follow some technique, or literally starting? How is that? Maybe how is that for you? Like that would help.
Well, it's not really answering your question, but I want to say that when I'm drawing or even painting, it's as much about producing something as it is sort of understanding what I'm looking at and sort of like capturing that and bringing it into my head. It's a way for me to understand the environment that I'm in or how a building is built. Like, like I said, I was living in Boston. So there's a lot of buildings from the there's some buildings from the 1600s, a lot from the 1700s, 1800s, early 1900s, etc. And, there was a sort of there was a way of building in all those different eras. They hadn't perfected things, or they had limitations on the local materials, stone and brick and wood and all that. So I just love looking to see how a lintel goes over a doorway or a keystone over a window, and how that's, or a keystone in an arch, and how it's like it's taking the load above it and dissipating it over the span of a doorway or over a window. And I love how that expression of the forces, the structural forces. I love that. And I love to see how, like in Boston and that part of America, has a lot of stone walls, and I just love how like the stones come together. The same is true in traditional Japanese stone walls in a very, very different way.
Yes.
But I love, and I've drawn the stone walls at the Imperial Palace here in Tokyo, and other castles and castles in other parts of Japan. And these monolithic stones and how they fit together, I can't get enough of it. So for me to draw them, it's as much about producing a drawing, and it's as it is just sort of a way for me to understand it. There's a way of, there's different levels. There's like casually looking as you're walking, and then there's really looking, and then there's drawing it. And when you draw it, you really understand it. And then years and years later, I can go back in my head and I can kind of understand like how a Japanese stone wall is put together, or how opposed to, let's say, a a Boston stone wall, which is very different. And Hawaii has a different way of putting stones together. I noticed stone walls together. So I just kind of like what we were talking about before. I love the regional. In fact, in college, it was called critical regionalism. So I just love to see how different regions have their own vernacular, but I love it because it's critical regionalism. It's bringing it to the modern age. And that was one reason why even in college, I love Tadao Ando, because I felt like he was a critical regionalist. I don't know if he's considered one, but to my mind, he's a critical regionalist. So like bringing the modern movement and make it particular to Japan. Yeah.
Somehow you answer, and my interpretation of what you're saying is your observation. When you talk about the stones and all details, I can see like you are a person, like you are very, how's that in English? Observant? Observant?
Yeah.
So you look into details and things. So you're gonna interpret that and draw that. So it's, of course, there's all the techniques and you know, certain ways to draw, if it's watercoloring or not. But if we here sketch, draw this meeting room, we are on the same, we're seeing the same thing, but you gonna interpret it in a different way than me. And we're gonna end up with different drawings.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Like your interest in this scene is different than mine, and your hand is different. Like I inherently have a heavy hand, so my marks in pen or pencil are heavier than, let's say, my workmates. So I use a 2H pencil if I'm drawing in pencil, whereas my workmates think it's crazy. Like, how can you use a 2H? It's so hard, but my hand is heavier than theirs, and they like to use, let's say, 2B or HB. Yeah, but everyone's hand is different. What interests them is different. Like right now, we're working the illustration studio, the hand-drawn illustration studio. We're working on the greeting card for the holidays, the end of the year holidays. And there's maybe 6 or 7 of us doing proposals. In fact, the day before the conference, I have to have my proposal ready for the executives to review, the PR department and the executives to review. Anyway, which should be interesting. But we were reviewing everyone's proposals a couple of days ago. And it's so interesting to see how everyone's proposal was so different, so completely different. And I think that's interesting how people interpret things differently.
I really, you know, it's really thank you for your time.
Yeah.
I know you have a lot of work to do, especially this proposal before the ASAI conference.
Yeah.
But so Tom, thank you for your time. I think, to be honest, I really love the way we went all the way around all these stories and things, and not actually talk about technical things, because I think this gets boring, you know. Like we work with technology every day. So thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
And we have here as well, like, sorry guys, we have a second guest here, and he is helping us, Miyakawa. Yes. Miyakawa.
And Miyakawa-san, Kenta Miyakawa, will, like I said before, he's one of our speakers, and he's going to be on the panel discussion on October 1st. October 2nd.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
I see you there. Then.
Yeah, we didn't actually even talk about it, but he's a CG artist, but he also is excellent at using AI, which is going to be somewhat of a focus of our conference to some degree. Yeah. So
no, great. I'm excited to the conference and see your presentation.
Yeah.
So so if you're watching this, I'm gonna put everything on the description about ASAI, which is this conference we are attending. Tom is the president this year here in Tokyo, and if you want to attend to ASAI, you must speak Japanese. So you must. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we have translators. So English,
just kidding.
English, Japanese translators.
So
Yeah.
you learn at least Ohayo.
Ohayou gozaimasu.
Gozaimasu. Ohayou gozaimasu.
Yeah.
Not
And what did I just learned some Japanglish. There's sumimasen, which means I'm sorry. It's very common to use. Sort of like, well, in English we use it. Excuse me. Yeah, same. So, yeah, Japanglish I heard sumi sorry, which I thought was funny. Sumi sorry.
Maybe this might work for Tokyo. Like very.
Or we say daijobu, which means it's okay, but Japanglish daijobu-ke.
Okay, so
Okay.
Tom, thank you for your time again.
Yep.
And if you like this conversation, you can drop here a comment about what was more interesting for you. And I always drop a word so people can comment this word, and then we know they get into the very end of the episode. So a word for this episode could be something Japanese. Maybe something arigato. No. How is but that would be complicated to actually write down. But how do you say sketch in Japanese?
Well, one way to say it is like your drawing is but there's different words for drawing. Yeah. But in English, I would say community, because we're bringing people from all over the world.
Indeed, yeah.
And it's a community of passionate people.
Yes.
And we're bringing them all together. Yeah.
So if you got anything here, comment please. Community. And that's it. So thank you very much, and arigatou gozaimasu.